For almost 20 years, he stood at the bedside of cancer, a physician who knew the body as science describes it, every cell, every system, every limit. And then he found something medicine had never taught him, and he walked away from all of it. This is the story of Darius Meibodi. For almost 20 years, Darius Meibodi practiced oncology, cancer medicine. He knew the body exactly as science describes it, and then something in him began to search. While still practicing medicine, he was guided in 2002 to train as a Lightbody integration practitioner. What began as a search became a calling. In 2015, he did what very few doctors ever do. He set aside the identity he'd spent his whole life building and left conventional medicine to become a full-time holistic healer and seer. But he didn't leave his knowledge behind, and that's what makes Darius rare. He carries both the physician and the healer in the same pair of hands. He now offers his services as a Lightbody integration practitioner and much, much more. Let me speak personally for a moment. Darius and I have collaborated for many years, and I have seen his talents firsthand, including that rare medical intuition where the physician and seer converge. I have also observed his deep love for nature and animals, and his commitment to their being on this planet is as strong as his dedication to humanity. People now come to him from every direction with issues that go beyond serious physical ailments, including those experiencing anxiety, black magic, chronic fatigue, vaccine injury, or simply feeling lost or lacking direction in their lives. For most, that first session is only the beginning, the doorway to the unfolding of their infinite creative potential. Because Darius knows, as the ancients did, that a great shift of ages is upon us, from separation to unity consciousness, his mission is to help us cross it and remember that we were always multidimensional beings, here to bring heaven to earth. This is a conversation about the cost of walking away from one world and consciously entering another, and the profound rewards, in Darius's case, he found on the other side. Darius, it's such a joy to have you here. And I want to walk you through your whole journey from the young doctor you were to the incredible healer that you now. So let's begin at the beginning, and welcome.
Thank you. Great honor, great pleasure being here with you and the audience.
Yes, of course. Of course. So, Darius, what drew you to become a doctor in the first place, and why oncology of all paths?
Oh, it's well, becoming a doctor wasn't always my first choice. I wanted to become a pilot, architect, Egyptologist. I had like all these different ideas. And I remember I was in the army. It was mandatory at that time where I grew up. And I decided to do medicine, and so it was quite a decision quite on the spot, but I went through that. And why oncology? It's almost like that oncology called me. I had other ideas. I wanted to do plastic surgery, aesthetic surgery, and neurosurgery. I had like these ideas going in the surgical field. and somehow I ended up in oncology, but through things. My thesis was in oncology. When I was doing internships, it was oncology, so it called me. And
Wonderful.
I see the benefit now as well because oncology, due to the multiple other diseases that people can have who have cancer, I learned a lot about other specialties as well. So it's extremely encompassing, and I see now the benefit that I have, right? Compared to someone who, let's say, has a very more a limited knowledge of other fields of medicine because they don't come across other issues. Like in oncology, people have neurological problems. They have problems with the intestines. They have problems with the nerves. So it's very encompassing, yeah.
Mm, thank you for that. So just take us back through those early days. So you studied, did your medical training in Europe, is that correct?
That's correct. In Germany, where I grew up.
Very good. And you subsequently continued to practice in Germany, or were there other countries where you were practicing?
No, I always loved traveling. So I did my interns abroad. I went to the US and to South Africa for that. And I started immediately working in the UK.
Immunity, did you say?
I started immediately
Oh,
to
immediately.
work
Yeah. Oh, the
immunity.
wonders of Zoom. Either that or I'm going deaf. I'm not, I think I might need your services soon. Immediately. Okay. All right. Okay. So once you practice that so how many years in total were you practicing oncology, just strictly oncology?
Strictly oncology, like 20 years.
20
And
years.
6 of those were actually in the pharmaceutical industry, working in
Mm.
oncology, meaning that I still had to use all my clinical knowledge, but it was very much going into the research as well as cooperative aspects of oncology.
Right. So then there was something around 2002 that opened up for you in terms of a more energetic practice, meaning light body integration. So, what happened that made you even consider shifting? And take us through that. What was the internal process like?
Oh, actually, I think it starts even way before medicine. I think as a kid, I had the feeling that I can do things that other people can't do. I didn't know what
Mm,
it is, but I thought like maybe I'm just making excuses. Maybe I'm just being weird. When I studied, I became interested in meditation, and I did a meditation course. And then I was seriously looking for some holistic forms of medicine or some healing to go alongside medicine. But let's say I didn't want to do something which is below the level that I can achieve already with medicine, right? And
of
another
course.
thing was, so I wanted to have something which has that at least is on the same level as medicine, if not even higher. And also, what happened at that time when I started working, you could still work like 100 hours a week. So basically, I was
Mm,
working nonstop if I wasn't sleeping, and there wasn't really any time to really dedicate some time to look for something else. And it was just like by coincidence or by divine alignment that a friend suggested that I go to the specific person who's in London as well, where I was working. And I went there and I did a session with him, and I felt fine, but nothing really extraordinary. But saying that my life was very good at that time already, so no great shifts there. However, I went for a few more sessions and I asked if he does a practitioner course. And then he said, yes, we do, we just happen to do one. And, but you have to have certain abilities. We had to send out in a photograph of our hands and of our face and stuff like this. I thought it's probably not me, but anyway, he saw that I have these abilities, and this is how it all started. So I went then when I started doing the course, and each evening that I was driving back home, I was asking myself, would I just experience this? Am I dreaming, or is it really true? So what happened on the course? We had we saw past lives on different star systems. I saw entities, structures, reptilians on other people in the course, and so on. It was really extremely expensive. It went way beyond my uh, current understanding of what is the reality. So it was a very mind expensive process for me.
Mm. So did you go through a period of cognitive dissonance, or was it a gradual shift?
No, let's say for me, it was at the time. I mean, consider it's like 25 years ago that I was doing. So I couldn't really talk about that because I could jeopardize my career in medicine very much, right? Certainly when websites come up, I couldn't have a website either. So it was more for me just having finding my own way. Even in the spiritual community, I had some friends who were doing some other forms of healing, but a lot of people found this form of healing, what I'm doing, a little bit over the top. So it's very powerful. So I'm happy that I can say that. But it wasn't like that I had too much support, even in the spiritual community from that, and almost zero in the medical. However, that changed over the course of the time, and even colleagues of mine came for treatment then, and then I came to realize that at some point I have to leave medicine, and the closer I came to the actual time that I was saying goodbye to my full-time job as a doctor, I got more and more messages, that basically I cannot have one foot in conventional medicine, one foot in healing. I have to trust. I have to really jump into the cold water. It's not for me to have, let's say, a safety net of sufficient spiritual clients so that the financial drop wouldn't be noticeable and so on. So I really had to surrender completely. And that happened in 2015. And again, there were a couple of events that made it very easy for me to leave my medical job, which was at the time in the pharmaceutical industry.
Right. So a couple of things. So you said the word powerful, and that is an understatement when it comes to your abilities and your treatments. I know firsthand. Anybody want to know? You can ask me. So there's no I have been duly and properly zapped by Darius's brilliance, and it really shifted my reality and paved the way for even greater explorations and for the stuff that we're doing, that we've been doing together along the way. So I'm so happy about all of that. But and you talked about the surrender. So I really want to get into the heart of the emotional and psychological progression that you made from the conventional to, even though you have already explained so beautifully that you always had the inclination or the feeling that you could do more than what they taught you in medical school. However, being in that system and then having the epiphany of, okay, no, there's something else going on here. And that talk about that shift internally, psychologically, I guess it took you a few years though, right? To actually finally make that shift. But what I'm interested in is that emotional journey, because so many of our viewers are likely doing the same in their lives. If not in a medical profession, they're moving out of the matrix and into self-expression, not having a 9 to 5 job, etc. So if we can talk about that, I feel like that's going to be really, really inspirational for our viewers.
That's actually a great question. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So a big problem was for me that I was at that time the main breadwinner, I would say, at home, and I also had like the energy of that I'm carrying the burden myself. So that I felt I had a lot of responsibility, or I choose to have a lot of responsibility, and I felt it depends on me. I cannot just make a stupid decision. So it was very mental, the whole thing. And it was actually interesting. I did twice an ayahuasca retreat in Brazil on 2 years, even though it has been offered to me a lot of times. I never felt aligned to go somewhere. And before I started doing ayahuasca, I knew this is just temporarily for me, and at some point I'm going to stop it. It's not my path. And 1 year, the experience, the main message was that I just have to surrender, that I have to bring in the energy of that little child. And I had like the vision what I had. I was, as a, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, I was invited to a school kid's birthday party, and it was like a meadow, we're just playing around. We didn't worry about wolves or bears in the vicinity or anything like this. So there was no care. We
Not
really
like
just,
my place. Yeah.
yeah, I know. So that there was no care. We're just allowing yourself to be supported by Mother Earth. That was one thing. And the other was actually, funnily enough, it was like really connecting to the high levels and allow that, just like really allow yourself to be supported, and go back from the imprint that I had for a very long time. I have to do everything myself. So this was very much relevant for me to facilitate the shift. So I gave away the responsibility, and I surrendered. So really, I moved from the mental state into the intuitive, in the heart space, and that was the catalyst for me. And then the circumstances manifested that really made it very easy for me to leave my last job.
Wow. So it was really, you overcame a belief system. That's another way of putting it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the evolution continues. And I'm still, as we all are,
Yeah.
I'm still a work in progress, and it continues, but it's exciting.
Of course, of course. Well, we're all very grateful that you made that transition. So looking back at that person now and the entire understanding of Western medicine, you are in a unique position to be able to comment on its what it's all about and how to put it into context of what we know now in terms of what true healing is, and especially what you know now about what true healing is. So how would you recommend, first of all, I'd like to hear your particular viewpoint, and then perhaps you might in that vein recommend to viewers how they might consider looking at their belief systems in terms of Western medicine and integrative holistic practices. Go ahead.
I want to just start at the very beginning. I think a lot of people who are doctors nowadays have been healers in other incarnations, and not necessarily choose to do that for various reasons. One could be persecution and other incarnations and a bad feeling about doing that. But I think for a lot of doctors, the essence is there. So I am not unique. Maybe I just have a wake-up call a little bit earlier than some other things, but some other people. But I do believe that there will be a lot of doctors, the same as a lot of midwives, nurses, who go more and more into the healing thing. And so you were asking then to come back to your question about where I see the position of medicine in the whole spectrum. So I think there's a very important role for medicine, but if you see something from an energetic level, like physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and so on, conventional medicine is typically, or the majority of that is pretty much in the physical space or in the third dimensional space, whatever attribute you want to add to that. And so it has a role in there, but it's not the only thing. It's like, it's like the same. Mexican food is delicious, but it's not the only cuisine that exists in the world, to have a whole spectrum. But Mexican is fantastic. So there's often points where conventional medicine is very much of it's required, and I have actually clients who come to me, and let's say stomach and basically I work on them energetically, but I get very clear the message they have to go to a hospital, they need to have a CT scan or anything like that, right? So I think this is one thing. So it's not for me to demonize medicine, and it's us versus them, spiritual against scientific. It's actually, it comes all together as well. When we draw a comparison in physics, you can see the classic Newtonian physics. You have on one thing, but that model expanded more and more. You have quantum physics, then, where energy follows intent, that can explain the placebo effect in medicine, or that continues further. You have string field theory. I'm not a physicist, so I'm probably don't reproduce it correctly, but that postulate the string field theory postulates the existence of multiple dimensions in order to explain the Big Bang or whatever. So I see that with medicine as well. Medicine, or the conventional medicine, is pretty much related to Newtonian physics, but it has been, as physics have been involved, so medicine as well. So typically when people come to me, probably a third of people come to me with medical issues, typically very severe medical issues. I look at the whole thing from a physical thing, like a medical thing, but also I go into functional medicine. It's not like I just treat the blood results and standardly in 15 minutes. I check out also, what is the biome, like the bacteria in the gut, is that affected? Do people have allergies? So it's very encompassing doing the functional medicine bit. Then I go see what is the emotional state of the person. I have a conversation. I take a very deep history of people, and then I start to get additional thing. What is the relationship to the parents? And then I receive information often when it's necessary about past lives of them. Or certain illnesses. Let's say when the thyroid is not working properly, the thyroid gland is related to the throat chakra, which is about expressing truth. Is there something that they cannot express themselves or not express the truth, right? So we go through the whole thing, through the whole spectrum, from the physical to really the spiritual, the whole spectrum, in order to address a disease or a challenge as much as possible, And also then the view is, if you see that every experience that we have in this incarnation here, it's not like that it comes randomly. From a higher perspective, we choose every single experience that we have here, and you can say that's based on soul contract or soul agreement we made. Any kind of disease that I have, or any kind of holidays when I'm taking, any the clothes that I'm wearing, everything has been preordained already. Our soul choose to have these experiences. So when there's a certain disease, the question is, what is your role in manifesting that? and what is the learning experience for you? Because when the learning is integrated, then there's no need anymore for a disease to be sustained,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So to go back to the timeline, it was in approximately 2015 that you made the final transition. Can you talk about that? And how
I'm
did that
trans
look like? Yeah.
I had transitioned.
Yeah. Oh, no, not that way. No, not that word.
Okay, all right. So if you want the things, I love traveling. I think I mentioned that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So suddenly, a lot of traveling for doctors were canceled. So a lot of the joy from the job that I had disappear. Then the red tape increased abnormally
Mm,
high in the UK. I think it's all over the world.
mm,
And what was the other thing? There was a third point as well. I don't recall that right now. But
mm,
I didn't get a promotion that I should have received. Obviously, I
mm.
manifested not to get it, right?
Exactly.
But I say, okay, so what is the point for me to stay there, And saying that if I would have received the promotion, I would have stayed at least another year and postponed my transitioning uh, again, right? So anyway, it made it easy. So I knew that for a long time, and it just fell all into place. It was a time that even we decided at the time to leave London and move to the south of France, and it went like so easily. The wholesale, the exchange rate from pound to euro was perfect at that time due to some uh, external event, which were actually quite horrific. But
Hmm.
everything supported this transition, including moving the country. And this
Mm.
was, and that was just the beginning, and this is when a very exciting journey started.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're all the happier for it. So let's move into this new era now. So, for any of our audience members who are hearing the words light body activation for the first time, how would you describe that? And how would you explain it to someone whose ideas about healing are still rooted in conventional medicine to some degree?
Okay, you can say light body is so we're more than the physical body. You have like etheric, energetic, emotional, mental, spiritual, and so on, other bodies around. But parts of that probably can be shown by the use of Killian photography. So there are
Mm,
multiple, so we're more than just a physical body. And to do light body activation is to, let's say, increase the potential of these bodies because often they are running suboptimal, and this is part of our experience as well as a human. In the emotional body, we can have negative emotion. A lot of people that come to me at this time come because of anxiety or stress, too much
mm,
stress, and so on. And so all these things help us to have a limited experience, what we choose to have here, to learn
mm,
something, and in this way expand our
mhm.
consciousness. However, if we want to undergo the spiritual growth, then we release these things and so many more things. This is really in a nutshell. So we take the junk out and increase the pathways, so really give an upgrade compared to a computer. And does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
To
Well, just to
really,
me.
okay, wonderful.
I
So
know you've done it to me, and I'm like, yeah.
to give an analogy, maybe with a thing, let's say someone has liver problems, right?
Okay.
So in order to, the liver is not functioning at the level that it should. So you have to see, are there some toxins or anything that prevent the liver from functioning perfectly? Is there maybe too much alcohol, maybe too much toxins in the body, or is the
Mm-hmm.
blood not flowing properly in the liver? And so this is, we take the limiting, let's say the toxic limiting substances, structures out, and then we want to optimize that. So we want to see, is the person eating enough proteins? Are there enough minerals and vitamins present? Is the person getting enough other things that support the health of the liver, like physical exercise or anything like that, right? So we take the negative things out and increase the potential by optimizing the good things. So if that makes sense, it's really in a nutshell. There's obviously much more to the whole processes, what I'm doing or what other people do. But it's just an attempt to give some explanation on a quite basic level.
Right. Thank you for that. And I was going to talk to you about this later on, but I think now is the perfect time. So, because you talked about, you gave a case scenario of somebody who's got a liver issue. So if we were to, for example, take that same person, where does your refined psychic and medical intuition come into play? And how does that unfold for someone?
Okay, so for example, you can say that the liver, energetically speaking, can store anger, right? The question asked is, does a person have any anger in their life? Maybe yes, maybe not, but there can be some anger coming from the ancestral lineage or spiritual lineage, or maybe it's like a future life or a parallel experience of the life. Just to say up front, the work what I'm doing is not only for the current incarnation of a person, but it goes way beyond. It's the ancestor, the descendants, future life, past lives, alternate incarnations in alternate universes and parallel universes and so on. So this is one thing, that I would then help the person to release the anger and other negative emotions. Then also do a clearing of toxins. So just we have that, even in case someone eats organic raw vegan, through the air, through the water, we exposed, or through medical intervention and other things, we are not free from any toxins, but if I have toxins in my body, then I have an agreement that I have toxins in my body and I hold on to them. So we have to, I propose them, and everything is free will, to release toxins in order to optimize that, right? I didn't see is taking the whole history, medical history as well. There can be things attached to that. Maybe the person had hepatitis in the past, or or alcoholic liver disease. If someone is drinking a little bit too much, what is the reason behind? So it's not only stopping that, but in order not to really go to the core, what created a specific situation in the first place. Maybe it's unworthiness, maybe it was abusive relationship, maybe it was just like everyone in the family is an alcoholic, or every other person. So all these things are addressed, or like proposed to be addressed. Typically people are happy when I suggest to them what we can address. So, but it would go down this line. Then also, then I see at once part of the session, are there any entities or any other limiting structures in the etheric or high dimensional realms available that can be removed? How are the energetic lines for the liver, right? For example, in traditional Chinese medicine, if you go to the acupuncture lines, the meridian lines, that can be interrupted, they can be very thin. I would repair them as well and make them much, much stronger. So to really allow much more energy to flow into the liver, but not only onto the liver, it's actually for the whole body, basically, right?
Right. So would it be accurate to say then your approach is really multifaceted and multidimensional?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't cut corners. So this is one thing as
No,
well,
you don't.
No, don't. Yeah. No,
No.
it's very important as well to the gifts what we have, and I'm sure you agree with that
Mhm.
as well, Renata, that we use the gifts that we have with integrity, right?
Oh, yes.
And really not for some nefarious, self-elevating reasons. I've seen it actually with a few people where the ego became quite big,
Mm,
which is
mm,
fun. It's just an experience as well. But there were
yeah.
certainly good examples for me that I don't want to end down this road because you can easily use your abilities. I've seen that happening.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
as I said, it's for me, I like working with integrity, and I like to empower people. It's not for me of any interest, or it's against actually my purpose in this. It's against the purpose of my incarnation to have chronically people depending chronically of me.
Yeah,
Call me
of
every
course.
week to see what mantra to chant. So no, I'm
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
I like people empowered
Yes.
and healthy.
Yes. I agree. I agree. So this might be the perfect time to talk about this as a segue. So you were saying that you can see certain things around individuals as you because you're looking at them multidimensionally, and when you say someone is, let's say, going into an egoic state with their gifts, do you agree that this could be a form of hijacking or black magic? And that is also an area that you specialize in. You talk about that.
Yeah, ultimately everything what we experience is uh, uh, we choose to manifest it on a soul level. We may not like it. If I'm robbed on the street, from me as Darius, I don't like that. However, my soul choose to manifest that experience in order
Mm,
to have to learn something and to expand my consciousness, right? The If someone becomes very egotistical or something, or narcissistic, even if you want, actually, I've seen to work with narcissists is very difficult for the reason that they don't see anything wrong with them, right? So that can be very challenging, if not even often futile. But as
yeah.
I said, it's a free will. Typically people like this who are very egotistical wouldn't come necessarily. Uh, they may come for different reasons, for helping, and then the work which is done may help them to realize something. But it is very important for people in order for the work to be successful. It's just like really to be open to the whole thing. It's not to understand the mechanics, but also the willingness to change, meaning, is there maybe something within myself that I need to change in order to have a different experience, right? So if I come from a narcissistic as the extreme background, then it's always someone else's fault. I'm the good one, I'm the victim. So we have to move away
Mm-hmm.
from victim to really, I take responsibility no matter what for 100% unapologetically.
Right. Now, how do you reconcile that with someone actually having their energy or frequency hijacked or manipulated through black magic?
Okay, so this is black magic. Just to give one definition, and people may have different ones. You can see black magic is abuse of power, not in the
Hmm.
physical level, where you, let's say, attack someone with a machete, or you
Hmm.
pushed into the dirt in kindergarten. You
Mm,
can see this abuse of power in a different dimension, outside the physical, right? So these things are there, and I mean, we see. I mean, you just have to look at pop videos or Super Bowl halftime. There's everywhere references to satanic things. It's quite common,
mm-hmm.
actually, right? Even though one way to keep it hidden is by ridiculizing everyone who's talking about that. But in a lot of countries, it's openly known. You just have to go to Latin America, the Middle East, Africa. I mean, in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
countries, it's very well known that this
Mm-hmm.
exists, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if someone has that, as I said, it's just uh, people. as I said, there's what people come to me typically because something in their life is not aligned. If something is, everything is picture perfect, they feel happy, they feel healthy, they feel they're aligned with everything. There's not necessarily a desire to undergo a spiritual transformation. So people would come if they are, let's say, under attack or something, and they feel something,
Mm-hmm.
everything is falling apart. They cannot say why, they never get,
Mm-hmm.
people shun them or anything like this. I mean, they cannot give any rational reason for that, right?
Right.
So the way how I explain it to people, just to make it very easy. So let's say if we're here in the third dimension, at the bottom, this is just an attempt to explain that. This is where people see this as the world. A lot of people say this is the only world that exists.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the chance to move to a higher form of consciousness, or like a different form of consciousness, which we have like this great shift of consciousness happening, and black magic, if you will, it's between these two realms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do through the work is that we go above that, so that, and then we sever the cords with the black magic,
Mm.
so to speak. Obviously, it's more to that, but basically we have to go above a certain thing in order not to be disempowered by that. So if my energy is above the level of black magic, basically I don't resonate with it anymore. It's very difficult for black magic to be sustained in my reality. And then it's
Mm.
very easy to clear it out by
Mm-hmm.
changing specific agreements that we made in order to experience black magic, right? As I said, black magic, just to add that, it's very common. A lot of things run through that, just Epstein did a lot of things as well. It
Mm.
goes beyond what is
Oh yeah.
said in the news. So, uh, as I said, it runs in our society. That's how a lot of things are ruled, basically. So I have to see, maybe in a past incarnation, I was practicing black magic, or it runs in
Mm.
my family, right? So I have to see, what is my role in manifesting that? Where am I the executor of black magic, and where am I the recipient? I acknowledge both sides of that, and then I can release that, So it's
Mm.
not like
Mm.
to simplify that. I say, okay, that was an experience, maybe I did it. I may not necessarily remember that, but okay, enough of that experience. I don't need it anymore. So in this way, we can free ourselves from that. And it's quite a few people who come to me with black magic attacks or energetic attacks. It doesn't have to be called black magic necessarily.
Right. So thank you for that. So you talk a lot about moving from this 3D construct into a 5D or deeper deeper construct. This so it's like a shift from polarity toward unity consciousness. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the place where black magic would only work would have to be in the realm of polarity, right? It couldn't function in a unity consciousness environment. So you also talked about how your modalities can speed the process of moving from a lower density into a higher frequency density. So, in simple terms, what actually occurs in someone who comes to see you when this shift starts to happen?
Okay, but when people come, so just have first an informal a call with people, so they can share what is their concern, and I can see if I can help them, or just explain what I see and what I would propose for them, would be a plan of action, and then they can decide. So this is complementary, right? So it takes half an hour or up to 1 hour. And then when people decide to work with me, then, as I said, I sent them out a questionnaire before, and based on the introductory call that I had with them and the answers of the questionnaire, I receive already information how to address the thing specifically for that person. And so this is, we make changes often, and especially in the first session, changes of soul agreements or agreements that we made on a soul level to have specific experiences here. And we change those that are not aligned anymore. We want to transcend with ones that resonate with higher frequencies. So, for example, instead of I agree to have mercury in my body, in order to learn to experience toxicity, then we would release that with really release the contract out of the matrix of that person. And infuse where the space is created, we put a new contract in that I release all mercury or all toxins with grace and ease, and I'm completely free from any toxins, right? So this is one thing. We change a lot of agreements in order to help the person. Also, part of the first session is that we bring the body and the soul into alignment, right? So that is the standard step. And just to explain that a little bit, so the soul comes into this reality, into this body, in order to experience the third dimensional reality, or what you can call third dimensional reality, and express itself in that as well. So with my eyes, I can see you. With my ears, I can hear you. And through my voice, I can express myself in this reality towards you, or with my muscles, I can move myself around through the whole thing. So the body and soul form a certain unit for that, right? But also there's a certain opposition. And for example, in daily things, we don't like our body. I'm too old, I'm too bald, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too whatever, all this type of thing. Or we just eat junk food, watch too much social media, watch too much TV. In the morning when I wake up, I'm in Italy right now, instead of allowing my body to slowly wake up, I drink a double espresso. So knock my body, like wake up, and all, so it just, there's a certain opposition, but also the body can oppose the soul. For example, when I started to meditate, I went into really high levels. I suddenly received a message that I sit in a very uncomfortable position, and poof, I was back in the body. So the certain experience that we have where the soul and the body opposes each other helps us actually to stuck in 3D in this realm here in order to have the full experiences, right? Because our soul comes from our beingness comes from the highest realms, and this is where there's our true home. And we come in this realm with all the densities, with all the good things and a lot of drama. So our tendency is to go straight back. But this realm here, with all the polarity, good, evil, disease, health, it is an amazing school to have experiences and to expand the consciousness. That was we here in the first place. But if the soul is going straight back home, where it belongs to, then we don't have that experience. So this opposition of the body and the soul is part of the mechanisms that allowed us to have the full 3D experience here, if you will. And but however, because it's now the time of that we have where we have the potential to undergo this shift of consciousness and to leave this polarity behind and replace it with unity consciousness and Christ consciousness, not affiliated with any religion, by the way.
Exactly.
Then, so we can now, instead of opposing each other, we fully align with each other and make the decision to undergo together this shift of consciousness, or like a lot of people would say, the shift towards ascension.
Exactly. So thank you for that. So your process is like a 5-step process. So take us through it and describe the shifts that would occur in a individual that was going through your process. And of course, you've been doing this for a long, long time. So you have a lot of experience seeing how people shift. So please talk about that.
So yeah, but this is what I said, like this body consciousness realignment and
Mm-hmm.
the individual contracts is the first step that I have with people. The second session is that we take a lot of limiting structures away and upgrade the body, that the body can carry much more light, more life force. And also the activate the Merkaba. You can say the Merkaba is the sum of the activated bodies, the light bodies that we have, so that it can really be in any kind of form of frequency, meaning it can be in different dimensions, very simultaneously, and it can stay there as well. It's not like that the frequency is too high and has to come back immediately, because otherwise it's going to burn. So in the second session, uh, the limiting structures that we have, we open ourselves to our multidimensional abilities and multidimensional awareness. Here in this realm, we have typically 5 senses, plus minus. But the truth is that we have so much more. We have clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy, remote viewing, psychokinesis, and so on. But in order to have a 3D experience, we agreed to block these ones, right? That we don't see the glory of higher dimensions, because then we would miss out on the drama of what we can experience here, because we see beyond
Oh.
that. So we have to limit our view. So what we do, we basically take the veils away, right? And then it's up to the soul to decide when are we opening up. So often
Mm.
a lot of people want to be clairvoyant immediately, but it can be that maybe clairaudience comes first, and then something else at a later stage, according to what the soul of the person chooses to have. So this is one thing. Then I take other limiting structures out, which prevent high dimensional light, or let's say the soul essence, to be fully embodied uh, in the physical body of the person. And then we lay the meridian lines new, that can, the meridian lines from traditional Chinese medicine, they're typically very thin, so that we barely survive. We age a lot, and if we had any trauma, either from past lives or in this incarnation, that hasn't been healed, then these meridian lines are interrupted. So they are basically repaired and strengthened. Then we do some other activations. And then, as I said, then we activate the body the bodies on a way that the body can go and stay in high dimensions. And typically what happens is at that stage is that people have greater clarity. Spontaneous healing can occur. Then also things what we've done in the first session are augmented. And often people have already, after the first session, a great improvement. People feel often much, much lighter. If they have pain or medical issues, they can start to improve. And I often see when people have, for example, medical issue and the blood results are abnormal, I can oftentimes see an improvement in those. So it's not something
Mm.
we do in a high dimension area fair, nothing happens here. It changes here. It's really that
Mm.
we get better multidimensionally, right? In all levels. The third one, this third session, is that we release huge chunks of the karma and also then black magic
Mm-hmm.
energies attached to that. And instead of uh, releasing the karmic aspects, we infuse higher frequencies. So it's a greater expansion even, and that can help us to change um, um, our relationships as one of the many things that can occur. For example, if spiritual relationships can strengthen, whereas relationships that are based very much karmically, like they say attacker victim or narcissist empath, they can easily break apart. So it's extremely freeing and allow much more of the spiritual aspect of the person to come through. The fourth session, again, it's just one where we bring even more light, and it goes higher and higher, but once people experience it, it's what may sound very abstract at this time, it starts to make more sense, because with each
Mm.
session the frequency gets higher, and the perspective, a greater understanding comes as well. So the
Mm.
fourth session is to bring the to help the body to recognize itself as divine. And the fifth session is to take a being out that lives in our body that has been implanted us when we have been genetically modified in order to
Mm-hmm.
create the Homo sapiens. So, and that is extremely expensive. For example, when I had that process done myself, I had a lot of DNA activation happening. I typically have that when
Mm-hmm.
I have metallic taste in my mouth. And I had that
Mm.
for several days. It was a reflection of me being really very much expanded. Also, at the moment that this structure was taken out of me, my fields expanded a lot. And then
Mm.
that's 5 sessions, but it continues more, as time continues. One of my most recent steps is to activate the mitochondria, the
Mm.
power stations in the cell, and activate them as stargates. Stargates, you can say, is the connection of from one dimension to another one, or from one star system to another one, and really bring them to the highest level. That also has the aim is also, amongst many things, to rejuvenate, to reduce, or even give treatment for uh, severe diseases, like a lot of these neurological diseases that occur at this time, or cancers, which are very much related to uh, um, mitochondria that don't function properly. And then it continues. It goes, and then it goes more, as you aware of in your own work as well,
Mm-hmm.
Renata, to
Mm-hmm.
release the matrix, or the false matrix, and then really, become a rider through the universes. So it expands more and more, and I'm sure there will be more modules, if you will, available as we reach higher levels.
Oh yes, I don't doubt that at all. And Darius, honestly, I have 10 questions that have come up from what you've been talking about, but I want to be aware of the time, and I also want to still ask some really important things. And one of them is, this might be a bit of a surprise to our viewers, but you are a walk-in. So, can you tell us about that and how that fits in, and how you've been able to uh, reconcile that with your own being here, with whoever Darius was before that and whoever you were after that, or are after that experience? And when did that take place? Tell us about it.
Okay, so just to go at the beginning, when I did the training for, or when I reconnected with the ability of doing the light body integration, and most of us who do that have been doing that in other incarnations, so it's not the first time, so it's more of reconnecting. There are a lot of walk-ins. So walk-ins you can describe as that the body remains the same, but the soul, the old soul, goes out and has which is the walk-out soul, and the walk-out soul has an agreement with the walk-in soul, and the walk-in soul comes into the body and takes over the body. So this is not like an nefarious possession of entities. That's agreed. And the purpose of that is that, for example, normally the walk-in soul has a higher frequency than the walk-out. So people and the walk-in soul doesn't have to go through childhood and all this type of thing. So they go in a fully functioning body, and just with higher with higher
Mm-hmm.
abilities, and typically these are souls that do a lot of the ascension work, or help with the shift of humanity, or the planet, what is happening. So when I started doing the course, there were a lot of people, or quite a few, who were walk-ins, and it was always very traumatic what I saw. I remember one, she had just a walk-in. She couldn't function, the new soul still needed to integrate in the body. She had constantly twitches going on, and edema, and of her eyelids, and it was just like a person who was not fully functioning, right? Or another
Mm-hmm.
one, she was married to a man, but because that was the old soul who was married to a man, the walk-in soul didn't have a relationship, So basically, it ended in divorce, and her body changed. The color of the eye scan changed. She was more slim before, then she became more voluptuous. So it really a change, and often can take some time to integrate that, right? So I always said I don't want to be a walker. It's just too much drama for me. So what happened to me is actually it happened at the time of COVID. In 2020, I was giving a workshop in Mexico when suddenly all the flights were canceled. And I was giving at that time my last module to a lot of my students there. And when I had my last student to undergo the thing, I knew my job is done. It's basically I'm done with what I was supposed to do. And then the whole COVID thing happened that I couldn't fly back to Europe, and I was stranded there, and everything was like in a haze, But I thought it's because of the whole situation was really weird, and that only in retrospect I realized that I was having a walk-in, right? And actually, a lot of changes happened to me, but I didn't realize there were these changes. It's moving countries again, and then it was a whole restructuring of in several aspects of my life. But it was funny because my work, what I'm doing, has specific things to help walk-in souls to integrate. And I had a walk-in, but I didn't recognize that. And I feel like, like the woman who goes to the bathroom and has an upset stomach, and anyway, she clears herself and gives birth to a baby. So that's me, and the woman is a gynecologist, obstetrician.
Right.
So I should have known better, and it took me some time. But as I said, if I look back now, that it was at the time, I got the message, my job is done. And it was at the time of COVID. Also, I had from the I think when I started to do the Lightbody, I think like a special constellation in my chart, and it was then again that my North Node, I think, was conjunct my ascendant or something. And 18 and a half years later was exactly when I had my walk-in. So it was even on my astrological chart, I could see that and really pinpoint the day when it happened, right? So it's interesting to do that. But I think as the frequency, let's say, as we can have a different perspective of the whole thing. In the past, it was like one soul goes out, a new soul comes in, has to integrate. But if you see that as if we bring more of the unity consciousness in, that we see that actually we're all on one level, we come from the same source. So it's not such a big gradient anymore, and this is probably why I didn't have these severe symptoms happening to me. I didn't develop autoimmune diseases, which can often happen, or that it was more subtle for me. One thing is, for example, when I could finally fly back to Europe and I was with my family, I was suddenly, I saw the dynamic going on, and it was like I observed it, but I wasn't in that anymore. So I felt very much separated from that, not estranged in a negative way. I can still function with my family, but I saw really a very shift. I wasn't part of that aspect anymore. And that there were some other things as well, that I more like I don't give a shit attitude anymore, in a positive way. And so it really, and I got a lot of information happening. For example, what happened then as part of that, shortly after the jabs were rolled out worldwide, and I received information how to mitigate any problems with that effectively, right? So it just it is a very much a restructuring, but it can be. My experience was less dramatic compared to what I saw in other people.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and that would have been around the time we had met too, isn't it? Like around 2021, around
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. I had it. I think I had it in beginning of April 2020 and shortly after. So you're part of my
Yeah.
new my new soul
Part of
family.
the new entourage. Yeah.
You know, I'm your new entourage. You know, I
I know I'm
I
your new
I
entourage.
I had to raise myself a little bit in order to be able to fit into your frequencies.
Oh well, I'm sure I had to also. So we did it together. We did it together. So let's just go back because that's a really important thing that you're talking about, and the jibby jabby thing, and how that can be reversed. Because okay, concurrently with the shift that's going on now, right? And this is why I believe individuals like yourself, myself, many others who are moving into the exclusive area of helping people in a holistic way, in one way or another, however they're gifted and however they're being called to do it. Again, because of this shift and because of your unique placement, because of who you've been in the past, your training, and your experience. I mean, we're talking decades, not just, not just one area of expertise, but a plethora, right? You've gone through so many different, and literally we're talking about decades of experience. So as you bring this to the table with the same concurrently, this awareness around those injections and what they did and continue to do, talk to us about the possible outcomes for people that come to see you.
Okay, so just like as I said, just in order not to jeopardize any anything happening to the video, just so I put it with a question mark, right? From a medical perspective, it's actually quite evil medicine. This is my personal opinion. How everything was rushed out. I think a lot of people are waking up to that. But you find loads of that on other channels. The substances what are inside are not only what is given to the public, but also nanobots, nanoparticles, viruses. I think some people may have developed serious viral diseases afterwards. Then other things, other abnormal gene sequences, anything that can trigger malignant diseases. Anyway, this is just from my personal perspective. I may be wrong, and this is one thing, and also there are dark energies in as well. So what I'm seeing, I think it's not rocket science to see that a lot of people suddenly have all these medical things. I remember that a lot of young men on the football pitch, so people who were athletic, suddenly had a heart attack, uh, the number of cancers are apparently is increasing greatly. A lot of neurological symptoms, people have strokes and stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff inside which is not advertised. The other thing is that what I see with the dark energies, which are also injected, is that there occurred a certain disconnection from the bodies to the higher aspects of the soul, right? Not 100%, because if that happens, then you're dead. But to a great degree. So basically, the way I'm doing that is to get rid of these physical substances, whether it's any kind of venoms, viruses, or abnormal genes, and so on, and other things as well. And the second part is to reconnect the bodies to the higher aspect, in order to really allow the energy to flow again. And and also this is one thing, but the other thing is as well that we have to see, why did I allow that to happen in the first place, right? So a lot of manipulation has been going on, brainwashing, mind control, and so on. I remember, and probably a lot of people had that as well. The first thing when I met a person, instead of saying, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
They would say,
How
"Have you
you
been
doing?
have you been
Exactly.
vaccinated?" And also, it
Exactly.
was a completely an aspect of mind control. So we have to get rid of these things as well. Not only where I allow that to be my reality, but also where I'm the perpetrator. Maybe in a different incarnation, I was doing mind control on other people, right?
Mm.
And also another thing, which is typically addressed already, it's am I giving my power away? I give my power away to governments, to of health authorities, to corporations, and so on. So I have to claim my power back again to make decisions for myself. I have to stop subjecting myself to pseudo medical or medical mandatory measures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also I have to, where I'm imposing that on other people, I have to take that out of my reality as well. So I see
Mm.
how I can see what the results out of that can be. We see that all around us if we look. And so to see what is my role manifesting that. Okay, enough experience, let it go, right?
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be aware, but it's always important to come back to say what is my role in manifesting. So not only pointing finger at a certain agency, corporation, or at a certain person, ouchie, but ouchie, ouchie, but
Ouchie, ouchie.
but
Yeah.
to see why did I allow that to manifest my reality? It's my place in the first whatever it was my choice in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if someone doesn't want to do that, that's absolutely fine as well. If people, for example, choose not to undergo the shift of consciousness, which is potentially available to all of us as humans,
Mm-hmm.
that medical occurrence may be an exit way
Mm-hmm. Mm.
for to not undergo the shift, and whatever then maybe be
At this
incarnated
time. Yeah.
at this time, because and there's nothing wrong with that, because as I
Mm.
said, in the third dimension, as we call it, we have it's an amazing school. Through the polarity, we can expand our consciousness. So by not undergoing the shift, if I choose to do that, or if someone chooses to do that, they can still continue experiencing polarity and have a great expansion of the soul, if this is what the soul wants to have, right?
Right.
However, if someone chooses not say, okay, enough of medical dramas, I don't, I want to reverse that, then I think there's options available. So I'm offering one. I think it's quite powerful, but I see other people offering things as well that can be done through specific substances they take, at least to get rid of some of them, so just
Mhm.
uh, everything is available. And whenever something really bad happens, the opposite is created as well. So
Mhm.
um, uh, there's always a cure available, no matter how bad things look like.
Isn't that fascinating? I never thought of it that way. If we're in a dualistic reality, then that has to be a law, doesn't it?
It's a giant ping pong.
Yeah. I love it. All right. So I'd like to just leave off on more of a overview of what you're doing, and the magnificence of what it is that you offer in terms of the potential. So with this current shift underway, how, if you can describe, how do you help your clients embrace the discomfort of releasing old energies rather than go into fear, especially as they arrive their into the threshold of their true purpose, and discovering what their creative potential is, and ultimately, which is our birthright, experiencing heaven on earth in concrete terms. So talk us through that.
So how I help people to undergo the shift, or
Yeah, the shift in how they, instead of going into fear, they they go through your processes and successfully achieve a greater creative potential and experiencing the heaven on earth that you talk about so much.
Okay, so thank you. So I think just in order for us to undergo this shift, we have to change our mindset, or like part of that is, whereas here we often see ourselves as victims of circumstances, right? Or maybe sometimes with the perpetrator, but
Mm,
it's a very different perspective. In order for us to, when we undergo the shift, we have to also acknowledge that we actually create our reality every single moment, and that we are really powerful creator being, right? So what am I
mm,
doing with these things? So one thing is to really claiming this knowledge again, and this is one thing. So there's what I mentioned earlier. It's 100%, nobody is to blame, and also to bring in to do all these potential that we have to create, to bring it with integrity. So if I still hold grudges, for example, against people, so we have to
mm,
release that as well. So it's basically undergoing the same process. So from the beginning, the work what I'm having is ultimately, well, people may start with a medical issue, with energetic attack, with feeling stuck in their life, but ultimately, and most people continue to the journey with me, is to really become aware of their potential and to start to express that, right? And we do specific things in order to facilitate this connection to their unique potential, to their unique mission, right? To really claiming their power, claiming their health,
mm.
claiming
Yeah.
abundance, financial abundance, as long as money exists. So all this type of thing, just what is the ideal, if I have magic wands, and I can manifest everything, what do I want to manifest? And so it goes really into the ability for us to create specific outcomes, right? For
Mm,
example, I moved countries a few times, and each time I learn a lot and see what I can appreciate in one place and what I would like to have another one. So
mm,
my choices for manifesting certain outcomes are becoming more specific, and they can change in the future as well. So it's really what do I want to manifest? It's not like first we get rid of all the drama, negativity, negative emotions, and so on, and it's really what am I doing with all this creative potential? And there's so many amazing things, right?
mm,
And one thing as well, it's not only the healing session, but often one of our most important thing is what we have is here the connection to our Mother Earth, right?
mm.
The
Of course.
atoms, the molecules of our body come from her, and also to have the connection to the sun. If you see that the lineage or how our soul comes into this body, you can see from the universe to the galaxies to the
Mm,
sun into this body as well, to really honor this lineage and really connecting. In this way, it helps us to reconnect to our true soul essence, right? So we release more and more of our ego and allow more of our soul to come into our body, and we shine that out, right? And we do
mm,
that we see that we're all interconnected with each other. It's a very magical thing, actually, So and we start to have more synchronicities. I mean, it's what I'm seeing, for example, that besides synchronicities, everything is working out. Yesterday I finished a call with a client, and then I
mm.
had like five swallows coming, sitting next to
Oh,
me, flying around my head. Or today I had like this
wow.
lizard what I've never seen coming to me and was coming back to me. Usually they run
Aw.
away when they see humans. So what I experience, and I know I'm not the only one, is that suddenly we start to experience nature in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and also like be in contact with the nature, like barefoot on the grass, on the sand, in the water, that we connect with a human frequency, and so
Mm,
doing things like this, or I say the garden, just I live in a quite dry area. It's very much Southern Europe, but it's just like we have all this abundance of plants is growing, that people think you could have that in Bali, like in the tropics,
Mm.
So it's funny because there's a lot of fires around, but you can see really that you start to create your version of heaven on earth. And as you do that, you start to spread that out and out again, right? It's really magical. For example, in the previous place where we lived, apparently they didn't do anything for decades. And then when we came, suddenly they started to do all the roads new, to the
Mm.
electricity, which was on in the air, masts they brought underground. So a lot of things were changing, and we can all affect that. So it's just it's not something someone has to be special to that. This is our true nature. This is really, we allow our soul essence to shine through our bodies, and then the magic happens.
Well, on that note, I just want to say that you, Darius, my dear friend, are the embodiment of that magic, and it radiates from you. And anyone who comes to you is a 100% recipient of that intention and gifts that you have, that you share so beautifully. So thank you so much for taking us through your history, where you're at, and telling us about what you're offering. And so just as a final practical note, how do people get in touch with you? What languages are available? How does that all happen?
Okay, so you can find me on. Oh, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm blushing, but please edit that away after, before you post the video. So my name is Darius Meibodi. As you may see. So you can either contact me on via Instagram, via email. It's darius88fm@gmail.com. Or people, well, this is typically the best way for me to get a hold of me, right? And when people send a message, then usually I reply typically very, very fast. And then we can set up a call via Zoom. So to talk about the thing. So just like let me know which time zone you're in or what country you are. And the languages I'm offering, it's English, it's the easiest for me. German, my mother tongue, even though it's a little bit rusty, and also Spanish, So these are the languages
Yes.
at the moment. Maybe more to come.
Amazing. Yeah.
Brazilian Portuguese.
Brazil. Well, anything's possible, right?
Absolutely.
Anything's possible. Well, thank you so much, Darius. And what an honor it was to sit with you and to chat about your incredible and still unfolding life and practice and all the precious gifts you offer humanity from one of the biggest hearts I know. So thank you, my friend.
I feel very blessed. Thank you so much again for your kind words. And also remember, it's all in us. I'm not special. I'm still evolving a lot, and the more I know, the more I see how little I actually know. But we all have these things. It's our true nature as humans. We are infinite creative beings. Thank you.
So be it, and so it is. Thank you so much. Till next time.
From Brazil.
From Brazil. You know how to push the envelope, don't you? That's why. That's what makes you Darius Meibodi.